There's a rumor going around. If you like this video and subscribe, be the next reincarnation of Ashura. Hi guys, this is the next part of What If Broly Was Reincarnated in the World of Naruto. I hope you enjoy. Team 11 is currently waiting on their sensei who told them to come to Training Ground 8. Two of the genin at Training Ground 11 had an irritated look on their face, while one had a less than noticeable face of irritation. Esumi was about to stomp her foot and shout in rage before seeing a swirl of leaves appeared in front of the trio. Good news Team 11, I have nominated you three for the Chunin exams, Ko said with a peaceful smile on his face. The reactions of his three genin weren't the ones he was expecting. He expected them to show normal genin reactions to having their sensei nominate them for the Chunin exams and cheer and shout and thank him. All his did was stare at him. About time, finally something fun to do, Esumi said. I agree. Being a Chunin will give us access to higher level jutsus in the library as well. And we won't have to listen to anyone except the Hokage mostly. Jabi agreed. There better be good fighters there. The other villages must have stronger fighters than we have here, Aomatsuna said. Well anyway, here are your applications. You are to sign those papers and turn them in at room 301 by 4 p.m. tomorrow, Ko said before body flickering away. As soon as Ko left, Esumi shouted in excitement. Awesome, my new swords are ready tomorrow as well. I can't wait to put them to good use. I can finally test some experiments that would be much more easily attainable if I use them on enemy shinobi. Jabi concurred. The three excited children soon dispersed and headed off to do their own thing in preparation for the Chunin exams tomorrow. With Esumi is walking towards the blacksmith who was creating her three swords to make sure they will be ready for tomorrow. On her way to the blacksmith she noticed an increase in shinobi. After she took a look at their headbands, she noticed that there were many different symbols on them. This only served to make her even more excited about tomorrow. She reached the blacksmith's shop and noticed no one was at the counter. She heard banging in the back of the shop. She really wanted to go investigate, but her babies would possibly at risk if she interrupted the blacksmith and he made a mistake with her swords. She would never be able to forgive herself if she ruined her own stuff. So she decided to leave and ultimately accomplish nothing. Esumi didn't have anything in her kit that would be able to get information from a distance. As she was walking out of the shop she ran into a girl with two buns on her head and pink blouse. Esumi recognized this girl as the one she whooped this morning. Esumi was surprised to see her looking so healthy despite how badly she got beat earlier. Tenten ignored Esumi and walked right into blacksmith's shop and yelled, "Hey dad, I'm back." A loud crash was heard in the back room causing both Esumi and the blacksmith to be startled. "Hey, what are you doing? My babies are being worked on back there. If anything happens to them I'll send you back to the hospital," Esumi yelled in a panic. Tenten looked at the strange small girl who somehow knew she came from the hospital and ignored her. She laughed before heading into the back of the blacksmith shop to see what her dad was up to. This pissed Esumi off and she decided to take a look back there also. Her babies could have been harmed. Tenten tried to stop the little blue-haired girl before being shoved out of the way easily by her. Her eyes opened in shock at the strength the little girl just showed. She knew she didn't weigh that much, but she definitely knows she isn't weak enough to have just any kid push her around. She tried to catch up to the punk hair-styled little girl who was already inside their smithy, but she was too slow. "Hey you drunk bum, you didn't hurt my babies did you?" Esumi shouted. The only response that was given to her was a bellowing laughter. "If you don't give me an answer, consider this shop the property of the Blade Demoness from now on," Esumi threatened. "Yay ya loudmouth brat, I got your order done. But before I do that," he says before taking a swig of alcohol. "You got enough money to cover this order, right?" he asked. "Did you forget that I paid already? Is all that alcohol destroying your brain cells faster?" Esumi shouted. Oh yeah, that's right. Well alright brat, follow me. They're in the back," Tenten's dad says as he started to walk towards the back of the smithy. The two walked towards a lit-up metal table only to notice three blades of very different sizes laying upon it. One blade of the three blades on the table is actively denting in the metal desk, straining the metal table due to its enormous weight. The second blade seems to be shaped rather differently than normal swords, it resembled more of a metal pipe than that of a sword. The third blade was a standard rapier with a flowery hilt. Esumi's face beamed in elation. She dived on the table and shoved two of the swords in her storage sheath. She couldn't pick up the heavy blade, so she slid her storage sheath over it and sucked it inside. The blacksmith just looked at the tiny child in amazement. He wondered just how something so small could hold something so heavy. But he quickly got over it and took another sip of his booze and chalked it up to ninja stuff. Esumi ran out of the smithy and headed towards the Forest of Death to immediately start training with the blades. With Jabi is standing over an incapacitated bear whose tendons and muscle tissues were cut, rendering its arms and legs useless currently. The bear roared at Jabi despite being immobilized. Jabi noticed a strange desperation in the bear's roar that wasn't like that of a normal animal struggling. He looked around in his surroundings and noticed 2 bear cubs growling in his direction. His eyebrows perked in interest and surprise. He didn't even sense the 2 despite the small bloodlust being directed at him by them. He ignored the 2 cubs for now before continuing to experiment and practice with his chakra scalpel. The 2 bear cubs growled and roared with all their might at the bad human who's hurting their mother. Jabi eventually finished his practicing before turning towards the 2 bear cubs. He thought they were pretty cute despite the tiny killing intent they are producing towards him. He started to go through some hand signs before putting a small genjutsu on the 2 cubs. He planted a thought inside their dumb animal brains to obey him, and due to Jabi's skill and the lack of intelligence of the cubs, they immediately dropped all hostilities with him and walked towards him. I guess animals are really easily to manipulate with genjutsu because of how dumb they are. I guess you two and my pet mouse will be a source of future experiments. Increasing your intelligence somehow will be a fun project, Jabi thought as he walked back towards his apartment grounds with 2 bear cubs behind him. On his way outside the Forest of Death, Jabi ran into a fairly malnourished leopard that decided to attack him and his new bear cubs. Jabi was about to just punch it away before deciding to also add this animal to his list of experiments. He wove through some hand seals and placed a seed inside the leopard's head to obey him. He noticed a slight struggle in getting the idea to plant from the leopard before increasing the chakra density and forcing it to stick. He then healed the unhealthy-looking leopard with his water-style, mystical palm jutsu, making it look healthier than any other leopard and a bit more energetic. He also decided to heal the cubs just to see what kind of effect it could have in the future. The cubs' fur turned lighter from the jutsu, but that was about it from what he could see. Now he had a mouse, 2 grizzly bear cubs, and a leopard to take care of. Jabi was a bit confused on how to get the leopard inside the village without causing a fuss before remembering the perfect jutsu for such a situation. He told the 3 animals to come towards him. He grabbed each of them before spreading his chakra between the 3 of the animals and doing the transformation jutsu. But instead of turning himself into a different person, he turned the 3 animals into 3 little kittens that could easily fit in his arms. The cubs tried to play with each other in their new appearances while the leopard didn't do anything. Jabi then carried the 3 kittens all the way towards his apartment, avoiding any altercations that could have occurred due to bringing 2 bear cubs and a leopard into the village. Jabi arrived in his apartment grounds and noticed his water clones working hard as usual. His clones have increased the number of water clones doing projects and effectively created around 50 Jabis in long white lab coats. He walked over to the recently made 10 clones, who had 100% of Jabi's physical capabilities and chakra, to check what kind of progress they made. Status report, Jabi said, "We've made the water clone jutsu about as perfect as the shadow clone jutsu and a little bit better, but that's about it. Nothing too insanely different except it's able to be used by people with lower chakra costs. With the new hand seal for water clone jutsu, it now only takes a quarter of chakra instead of half like the shadow clone jutsu to create a clone with 75% of our chakra. This is because of the gravity seal and how it affects our chakra. If we had normal chakra then it would give the clone 50% of our chakra, and if we created 2 it would have gave each one a third of our chakra. Each clone can now duplicate exactly what the user is wearing, including physical items like Senbon and poison smoke bombs. So overall we made it about equal to the shadow clone jutsu but without the crazy chakra costs it takes to accomplish that technique." 10 Clone says. Jabi put down his new test subjects and let them roam around in their kitten forms before laughing madly at his accomplishment. "Do you know what we've just accomplished here?" he asks after his laughter. "Of course I do," 10 Clone says. "We just improved a jutsu that is comparable to the second Hokage's jutsu. My genius is groundbreaking. I have to go teach this to Esumi and Aomatsuna immediately," Jabi shouted, before heading towards their rooms. He stopped on the stairs and quickly returned back to the 10 Clone. "Ah, please continue with your complete status report. I may have gotten ahead of myself. Jabi says as he clears his throat with a red face. The 10 clone rolled his eyes before continuing his report. The rest of the water clones have been practicing our jutsus, and after dispelling transferring their memories to me and the other 10 clones, we have gotten more proficient in our medical ninjutsu and genjutsu. Since the clones' memories and experience also transfers to us, it is as if we are training 10 to 20 times as fast as others. Eventually we will be able to perform jutsus with only one hand sign or none at all if we continue improving our chakra control and learning how to mold chakra to achieve the effects we want it to do. If we continue this rapid pace of training, we will easily become Jonin levels of power in weeks. Cage level in a year or two if nothing interrupts us. 10 clone reports. Receiving all those memories is gonna nearly kill me. I'm going to create 2 more 10 clones to heal my freaking brain when I pass out from the mental fatigue I'm gonna receive. But for now I will go share my findings with my friends. Jabi says before walking towards Esumi's door. He noticed her lights were out, so she must be out. He then walked over to Aomatsuna's door and knocked. Broly opened his door to see one of his family members in an excited appearance. What is it, Jabi? I managed to finally improve my water clone jutsu. I came here to show you how to create clones as good as the shadow clone jutsu Naruto does. Very well, show me the hand sign for it. Before you do this though, remember to switch to your chakra nature to fuel the jutsu. If you use normal chakra it won't work and you might injure yourself somehow. Jabi warned. Broly nodded and Jabi showed him the hand seal for the technique. Broly changed his chakra into earth and did the jutsu, creating an exact copy of himself that didn't look or feel any different. Good work, Jabi. It seems as earth clone I can revert to solid earth or liquid earth whenever I want and perform jutsus. The earth clone of Broly then punched straight through its chest. This caused Jabi to look shocked at the decisiveness of Aomatsuna's clone, but quickly calming himself down and understanding that that is just how Aomatsuna is. The clone's missing hole in its chest quickly started to regenerate with earth chakra. It then quickly reverted back to Aomatsuna's original form. Ha 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 ha, good. Broly shouts. This will be a great tool for increasing my strength. Broly's green aura started to leak before he quickly reined it back in. I will be heading out to the forest tonight. Make sure you're ready for the exams tomorrow or be prepared to pay the price. Broly says. Can you teach this to Esumi as well if she's there as well? She's not home at the moment, Aomatsuna-sama, Jabi says before Broly left. Broly nodded and disappeared without a trace. I suppose it's time for me to go into a coma for tonight. I am not looking forward to receiving all those memories, but at the same time the increase in strength is undeniably something to yearn for. Jabi says before creating 20 water clones out of thin air and then easily combining them into 2 10 clones. He went outside to tell the 10 clones that were received the memories to dispel in 10 minutes. Jabi went inside and made a quick snack to eat before getting into his sleepwear and laying down in bed awaiting the massive pain-inducing headache he will be receiving soon. The 2 10 clones laid on the side his bed with the water style, mystical palm jutsu at the ready. Soon the 10 minutes were up and the 10 clones outside dispelled, transferring all the memories and experiences the water clones have done for the past 2 days. The mental pain Jabi felt for a mere second caused him to scream. Due to Aomatsuna's training with him and Esumi, he sort of unfortunately gained a very high pain resistance. It seems this worked quite against him as he screamed and shouted in pain for longer than he should have before fainting. The 10 clones on the side of him quickly got to work and started to heal and soothe Jabi's brain. Broly, Jabi, and Esumi are on their way to the Chunin exams and have just arrived to see a long line of genin waiting in a line. The trio of demons just walked past the line and entered the building with sounds of complaints behind them. Although no one decided to do anything about it. As the 3 were going towards room 301 they noticed Team 7 and Team 9 being held up by 2 guys in front of the door. Jabi and Esumi looked at each other in confusion. Yes, the fools around us don't realize this is the 2nd floor and that is a genjutsu on the door. Broly said. Ha ha ha, what are their senseis even teaching them if they can't see through a simple trick like this? Esumi says loudly while laughing, alerting everyone to the fact that they are being tricked by the 2 guys at the door and that Esumi laughed at their teachers. So you 3 saw through it, huh? One of the guys at the door says before walking up to the trio of demons. Not bad, but all you did was see through it, he said before throwing a low kick towards Esumi. What the man failed to see was Esumi's bloodthirsty grin at the fact that this random guy decided to attack her first and give her a reason to test one of her new babies. She currently had her metal pipe-like sword which she named Basher. Esumi instantly grabbed Basher off her back and smashed towards the guy's leg. His partner who was standing at the door decided to intervene and also attack with his friend. The two guys' attacks landed together upon Basher and a struggle ensued between the power of Esumi and the power of the two guys. The two shinobi were slightly freaking out at the insane power of this girl because they were not gaining any ground in the class, if anything she was starting to overwhelm them. But alas, they had a saving grace in the form of a tailed boy. Esumi, save it for the actual exam. I don't want to get caught up with some weaklings before the real fun begins. Broly says. You two wimps got lucky. If I see you in the future, make sure to run. I love a good chase. Esumi says before walking away with Broly and Jabi. 10-10 looked at the girl in shock after recognizing her from yesterday. She doesn't even think she could do that against those two ninjas. And she dismissed and looked down on her simply because of her height and voice. I hope she doesn't remember me from yesterday. The trio of demons were heading upstairs. They noticed that two members of Team 7 and Team 9 are about to fight, but quickly ignored them and continued their way upstairs. Two weaklings fighting each other brings no joy to me. Broly says. I'm going to stay for a bit to watch Aomatsuna-sama. I want to see if they have anything interesting to show. Jabi says as Aomatsuna and Esumi continued walking upstairs. After watching an amusing battle between Naruto and Lee, Jabi returned to his team only to be greeted with his sensei at the end of the hall with Aomatsuna and Esumi. It seems you guys aren't disqualified from the Chunin exams. Each genin team must be present with all three of their members or they would be instantly disqualified and prevented from entering. Ko said with an irritated-looking Broly and Esumi. Whatever, can we go in now? Esumi shouted. Good luck Team 11, make me proud. Ko said before body flicker away. Make my proud my ass. The guy barely taught us anything. Esumi murmured. Team 11 walked through the door 301 and was greeted with a room filled with genin staring at them. Broly and Esumi showed an excited smile at all the opponents. Jabi on the other hand was also smiling with them but for a different reason. So many test subjects, I'm sure the examiners won't mind if a few of them have some problems with them. Right. Team 7 appeared behind them and were shocked at the amount of ninjas inside the room. Naruto showed an excited grin at Team 11 and walked over to them while leaving Sasuke and Sakura behind. Hey guys, you're here too huh? Naruto said in his usual loud manner. Yes Naruto, I'm shocked your sensei let you guys take the exam. I thought he was a teamwork loser sensei and not a training type. Esumi said. Well he is, but I won't let that hold me back. I'm gonna be Hokage ya know. Naruto states in a matter-of-fact way. Well I hope your team is as ready as you seem Uzumaki-san. Jabi says as he notices Sasuke being glomped by Ino. Naruto looked back at his team and noticed what was going on and waved goodbye to Team 11 and ran back over to his team and started to interact with the rest of the genin from the academy. Due to the ruckus they were making, a gray-haired ninja with a ponytail and glasses walked over to them and scolded them for the noise they were making. He introduced himself as Kabuto before pointing out the fact that everyone else is nervous about the exam and they aren't helping by being loud. He then took out some cards he called Nin Info cards. They were explained as cards that have information burned into them with chakra. As he was explaining he was interrupted by Sasuke. Sasuke asked if he had information about certain people. Kabuto chuckled before answering Sasuke's question with a yes. Sasuke then asked if he had information about two people. Aomatsuna Hakuseki of the Hidden Leaf and Gaara from the Hidden Sand. Great, you even know their names, that should make this easy then. Kabuto said as he started flipping through his cards. He pulled out two cards and started to read their information listed. Aomatsuna Hakuseki is in the same year as you all. They have completed 10D ranked missions and that's it. His sensei is Ko Hyuga. He is great at taijutsu, but that is all that is known about his abilities. He is said to have a mysterious Kekkei Genkai that is linked to his tail he keeps hidden when he's not in battle. Gaara of the Desert has completed 8 C ranks and 1 B rank mission as a genin. It was stated that he returned from all his missions without even a scratch. A few moments later 3 ninjas from the village hidden in sound walked towards Kabuto's location. One of the ninjas threw 2 kunai towards Kabuto, causing Kabuto to dodge. The second sound ninja snuck up on Kabuto and threw a punch at his face. Kabuto dodged in surprise, but suddenly his glasses cracked and he started to vomit on the floor. The genin from Konoha went over to support Kabuto before hearing a loud shout. "Quiet down, you useless bastards." A man with a scar across his left face shouted as he appeared with multiple chunin behind him. This quieted down all the genin in the room due to his scary appearance and loud authoritative voice. "I am Morino Ibiki, the examiner for the chunin selection exams' first test. If I see any genin attempt to attack each other again, consider your team disqualified," he warned. "To start off the first test, pick one of these tags and sit in the seat assigned to you. After that we will hand out the exams." "What a paper test," yelled Kiba. Everyone has been assorted into different seats, effectively splitting up each team. Team 11 are all split up and are surrounded by foreign shinobi. Ibiki looked over the genin before saying, "Do not turn over your tests yet. Listen to my next instructions. There are many rules to this first test. I'll write it on the board while I explain, but questions will not be allowed, so listen carefully." He started to explain the rules of the test before starting the test and saying that it will last for an hour. Aomatsuna looked at his test in annoyance. He wanted to fight, not waste his time answering pointless questions. Even though he can answer all the questions very easily due to the reading he has done when he was younger to find information about this new world he came to, it doesn't mean he like it. He answered the questions about cryptograms, math, algebra, and history before seeing the final question. This question will be revealed 45 minutes after the test begins. Listen to examiner closely before answering. It read. Aomatsuna looked over to see that Jabi and Esumi were done as well. Esumi may not act as smart as Jabi or Aomatsuna, but don't let her personality fool you. She's just as smart as they are, but prefers to act the way she does so she doesn't seem nerdy like Jabi. She likes to keep her intelligence hidden, even though Aomatsuna and Jabi already know how smart she is. Jabi was waiting for the final question and was suddenly targeted by an enemy shinobi. He felt a member of the Aburame clan insect land on his shoulder to look at his paper. He engulfed the insect with a tiny water bubble from his shoulder and put it in his bookbag storage by sucking the insect through the seal on his bookbag. He smiled at the nice donation from a fellow leaf nin. It seems Jabi wasn't the only member of Team 11 targeted by an enemy shinobi for looking finished. Esumi was targeted by a member of the Yamanaka clan and had her consciousness stolen. Although it seems she somehow prepared for having her consciousness stolen after her battle with Team 10 last week. She had lightning chakra constantly surging throughout her body, although it is normally extremely dangerous due to the fact that it could electrocute the user from the inside out and cook them alive if sufficient control isn't kept over their lightning chakra. Esumi does not have this problem. But it seems the Yamanaka user who took over her body landed himself in quite the shocking situation, because as soon as he possessed Esumi, her body and the Yamanaka who took over her body was electrocuted, scaring and shocking most of the genin taking the test. She smiled before waving her hand. "Sorry about that, Examiner-san. Someone must have left electrical wire somewhere in here," she said while smoking slightly. Jabi did his water mystical palm jutsu from across the room while dampening its color and making it near invisible, and started to heal Esumi's burnt body. She started healing quickly and soon returned to a nice silky white appearance that was healthier looking than earlier. "Okay, we will now start the final question," Ibiki said. "But before I get to the question, I would like to inform you all about the added rules for this question. For this question you are given the option of deciding whether or not you want to take it. What happens if we choose not to take it?" a random genin asked in worry. "If you choose not to, your points will be reduced to 0 and you fail along with your teammates." "Why wouldn't we take it then?" another genin shouted. "If you choose to take it and answer incorrectly, that person will lose the right to take the chunin exams ever again." "What kind of dumb rule is that? There are people who have taken this exams multiple times before," Kiba yelled. "You genin were unlucky that I am this year's examiner. But I did give you guys a way out. Those that aren't confident cannot take the question and simple try again next year. Now let's begin. Those who don't want to take the question, raise your hands. Once your number is confirmed, leave." Multiple hands started to raise up, resulting in multiple teams being failed, but also given a chance for next year's chunin exams. Our trio of demons simply waited for the question while looking irritated that this is taking so long. After a couple of minutes of no one else raising their hands, Ibiki spoke. "I'll ask you again, your future shinobi career is riding on this decision. This is your final chance to leave. No one raised their hands and were all ready to take this final question. Ibiki smiled to himself. 81 genin left, that's more than I expected. He looked around at the faces of the genin before telling them the shocking news. Congratulations, you have all passed the first test, he shouted, causing most of the genin in the room to be shocked. What do you mean we already passed? What about the 10th question? A genin asked in disbelief. There was never a 10th question. This entire test was to see how well you could gather information and how well you could do it covertly. Ibiki explained. Information is more important than life sometimes, and on missions in the battlefield people risk their lives to get their hands on such information. Ibiki said in a grave tone before removing his do-rag and showing all the genin his horrible scars on his head. There were horrible burns, screw holes in his head, and scars. They all reacted in different emotions towards the horrible sight. Many were scared, some were grossed out, and some were even excited. Ibiki was about to continue until Black Ball rolled through the window, shattering glass everywhere and shocking everyone inside the room. The black ball uncurled and revealed to be a person inside a flag. I am the examiner for the second test. Mitarashi Anko. Now let's head out. Follow me, Anko said before realizing that Ibiki wasn't completely finished with the first test. Why the hell are there so many brats left, Ibiki? You went too easy on them, Anko shouted. There are a lot of outstanding genin this time around. Ibiki defended himself. Fine, whatever, I'll cut the amount in half, no problem for the second test. I'll explain everything when we change places. Come on, Anko said before going through the second window and breaking it. At the second examination place, welcome to the stage for the second test, Training Ground 44, also known as the Forest of Death. Anko introduced. Before we start the second test, there's something I have to pass out first. You must sign these agreement forms. Some people will die for sure in this part of the exam, and if you don't sign these, your deaths will be my responsibility. I'm going to explain the second test first before I pass these agreement forms out so you can see if you can handle the second test or not. Afterwards please check in at the booth behind me with those nice looking men. Anko said after blowing a kiss towards the two chunin at the booth, causing them both to fluster slightly and look away. You all will attempt the ultimate survival. During the survival in the forest you will be asked to complete a certain task. You all will compete in a no-rules scroll battle. These two scrolls named Heaven and Earth will be passed out, and each team will either get one Heaven scroll or one Earth scroll. Half of you will get Heaven scrolls and the other half Earth scrolls. To pass this test, your team must make it to the tower with both scrolls. So half of the genin teams here are going to be eliminated during this section, or even more. One genin said. We better protect our scroll. Another genin said to his team. There is a time limit for this test. This exam will last 5 days exactly. Anko said. What about food? A genin said in hysteria. There are plenty of food in the forest. Just watch out for man-eating beasts, poisonous insects, and poisonous plants. Anko answered. Now for the rules of this exam. Those who don't make it to the tower with both scrolls within 5 days are disqualified. Those who lose a teammate or those who have a teammate killed are disqualified. For the final rule, you must not look inside the scroll until you make it to the tower. What happens if you look inside the scrolls? A blue-outfitted genin asked. That's a surprise for the ballsy genin team, Anko said playfully. Now either sign the forms or get. Anko said. Esumi walked over to Anko after Team 11 signed their agreement forms and got their gate number. She had a grin on her face. Big sister Anko, I'm here, Esumi shouted in childlike glee. Anko turned around with a smile of her own after recognizing that voice. So you decided to enter these exams too, huh, Esumi-chan? Be careful out there, these exams definitely aren't easy, Anko warned. PSSSSH, these chunin exams will be a piece of cake. Nothing but a bunch of weaklings and easy tests, Esumi bragged. Well, since you're so confident, ya little blue-haired brat, I guess I have nothing to worry about. Especially since ya got those two with ya, Anko said with a smile before rubbing Esumi's hair. Yep, we're gonna win this, no problem, Esumi said before hearing Anko clear her throat to say something. Everyone get to your assigned gates, we will start in 30 minutes. Esumi skipped over to her team. Are we going to search and destroy teams for this part of the exam? Esumi asked. I believe in both of your abilities. We will split up, have our fun for 4 days and meet up near the tower. Since we have a Heaven scroll, one of you only take an Earth scroll. I will hold our scroll. Broly said. I bet this is exactly what you were looking forward to, Aomatsuna. Esumi said with a giggle. You're right, Broly responded. This is what we were all looking forward to. Jabi corrected. The second part of the Chunin exams begin now. Enko shouted before all the gates opened up that were leading into the Forest of Death. All the genin teams rushed inside the training ground as if a pack of herding bulls. Our trio of demons stuck to the plan they made beforehand. Broly held the heaven scroll on his back in plain view for all to see, as if baiting them to come and take his scroll. Since Team 11 has basically grew up in this forest, they know exactly how to get to the tower regardless of where they are in the forest. Jabi and Esumi split off to the left and right respectively to look for other genin teams. Jabi was chosen to get the Earth Scroll they'll need to pass this part of the exam. Each member of the trio of demons had a terrifying bloodthirsty grin on their face as they hunted for the genin teams. A slight hint of a blue aura radiated from Jabi and a barely visible yellow aura radiated from Esumi while they were in this focused excited mood. None of the Team 11 noticed this weird aura though, and they continued to look for genins in the forest. With Esumi, Esumi has Basher, her metal pipe-like sword, out and wrapped some spikes around the sword. After a few minutes of searching she finally found someone to test her cute Basher-kun on. It was some sand genin. She was deciding on whether or not to attack sneakily or straight out, but she already knew exactly what she was going to do. She yelled loudly and held Basher over her head and smashed towards the middle of the three sand shinobi. The ground cracked when Esumi's weapon landed, startling the sand shinobi and making them jump away. One sand genin was about to throw some shurikens but Esumi quickly followed up after her starter attack and appeared in front of him and punted him in the chin with her weapon from below, launching him at high speeds into a tree. The poor sand genin crashed into the tree and caused a small crater to form on it. He quickly fell over face first and was unconscious. The two other sand genin quickly got on their knees to beg for mercy. Esumi tsked in disdain before bashing the other two upside the head and leaving unsatisfied. She quickly started to search for more genin to play with before finding two genin teams fighting against each other. She smiled as she charged in and interrupted the waterfall genin team and the rain genin who were battle. Surrender or face a painful beating, Esumi said in her natural high-pitched innocent little girl voice. For some reason the two enemy genin teams started laughing. Esumi didn't like this one bit. She threw her weapon at one of the waterfall genin and it cracked him in the face. She pulled on the string that she attached to her weapon to get it back before swinging at another genin. By this time, the two genin teams and Esumi had a battle royale. The two opposite genin teams were fighting each other and Esumi while Esumi was fighting everyone. Esumi was focused by rain genin and was swarmed with kunai that they threw. She twirled with Basher as she jumped in the air and knocked all the kunai away. After landing, Esumi appeared behind one of the two that threw kunai at her and swung her weapon at his back. He noticed Esumi was missing before hearing something behind him. He turned around and blocked. A heavy impact crashed into his arms and knocked him off his feet and away. It appears he also suffered severe deep cuts from some type of metal slashing his arms after the attack. Ahahaha, you shouldn't have blocked that, idiot, Esumi taunted before being targeted by the four genin together. It seems they decided she was the biggest threat and worked together to defeat her for now. They surrounded her on all sides before charging at her. Esumi laughed as they closed in on her and eventually all landed an attack. They each smiled before realizing that the small crazy kunoichi they attacked turned into lightning. Each of the genin were electrocuted due to attacking Esumi's lightning clone. Esumi appeared from behind some trees and looked at the burnt and smoking genin with a smirk. It was sweet of you all to become friends all due to sweet ol' cute me, sadly it caused a shocking revelation for you all. H-A-H-A-H-A-A-H. Esumi giggles as she started to look for more prey. With Jabi, Jabi is looking for genin teams to test his new prowess after acquiring all of his clones' memories and experiences from over the past couple days. He is going to test his genjutsu, medical ninjutsu, and taijutsu against his fellow genin. And it seems he found his first participants. A genin team from Konoha that aren't part of his generation of graduates from the academy. Well, it wouldn't matter if they were or weren't anyway. They're all competitors in this exam. Jabi slowly revealed himself to the three-leaf genin. They looked at him in confusion. How did this fat kid get past our traps? One older gentleman asked in annoyance. I told you your traps suck, Toto, a boyish girl said. Let's just take him out. I doubt he has a scroll since he's by himself. A glasses-wearing lanky boy stated. Before we begin, fellow Leaf Nin, can you tell me if you have an Earth or Heaven scroll? It would make this process a lot smoother if I don't have to search your bodies after I'm done. Jabi said in a polite manner. It seems this only served to anger the tomboy in the man. Why don't you come find out, Tubby? The tomboy taunted. Very well, Jabi responded as he started to weave through hand seals before having a burst of water surged from his feet. The three-leaf genin jumped away to not be blasted by the water. The tomboy threw some shurikens while the boy with glasses pulled out a tanto, small katana, and charged at Jabi. You three are already finished, Jabi says mysteriously as the trio suddenly fell unconscious. Jabi just shook his head at his fellow Leaf Genin for not even being able to recognize when you've been put under a genjutsu. You should regularly surge your chakra throughout your body to prevent falling under a genjutsu. Especially in a battlefield. Jabi searched the three before finding another Heaven scroll. He grumbled before returning it back to the Leaf Nin and jumping off to find more genin. These three were rather inadequate to base my current skills in genjutsu. All I had to do was hit their neck while they were under my genjutsu and it was over. I guess I'll test my taijutsu for next time, Jabi muttered to himself. Jabi eventually ran into another genin team. But this time it was a grass genin team. He revealed himself the same way he did with the Leaf team. Can you three tell me what scrolls you have? Jabi said in a polite, non-threatening manner. Screw off, ya tree hugger. One unfriendly female grass genin shouted. You should really watch yourself more carefully, kid, one of the grass shinobi said when he appeared behind Jabi with a kunai to his throat. Oh, don't worry, I watch myself very well. But can you please answer my question? Jabi asked. Kill this idiot already, he's getting on my nerves, the last grass shinobi said with an annoyed expression. The grass shinobi behind Jabi attempted to slice Jabi's throat, but for some reason the large boy he was holding suddenly vanished. He looked around in complete confusion before being palmed in the face and sent flying towards his teammates. His teammates were shocked and went to catch him. They were sliding backwards as they stopped the fast momentum he was sent with. They looked down and noticed that he was knocked out from one hit. They quickly looked for the unnaturally fast chubby boy before hearing a noise behind them. The two attempted to jump away but not before having their ankles caught by Jabi. As they were surprised by his speed once again, Jabi quickly took advantage of it and swung the two grass shinobi towards the ground. They both poofed into a log when the impact happened. Jabi searched the boy he knocked out earlier and found another Heaven scroll. He cursed inwardly before focusing his attention on the two grass nin watching his every move. Well, since you two are rather afraid of me, I will give myself a handicap. I won't move from this spot as you attack me, Jabi stated. Like we'll trust a filthy tree hugger like you, the girl genin yelled. Well, whatever choice do you have? I could kill your teammate you left behind and easily disqualify you. Or you could take me up on my offer, Jabi explained. This caused the two remaining grass nin to look at Jabi in disgust before reluctantly dashing towards him. Jabi smirked a calculative grin before getting himself into a defensive stance. His hands took on a dark blue aura as they came closer and closer. The girl charged with a kunai and stabbed towards Jabi's throat. Jabi swayed his head and grabbed her wrist before it could land. Her teammate quickly followed up with a punch to save her. Jabi with one hand caught his fist easily. He soon started to form water over their entire body before it took on a shape of a ball. This is my water style, water prison jutsu. You won't be able to escape without outside interference, Jabi says as he appeared from behind a tree. His water clone held the two grass shinobi in dense water balls. You two will be a great testing subject for me to test my next project on. He had the water clone pierce the two grass shinobi in the abdomen, causing them to spurt blood out of their stomachs and mouths. They soon fainted afterwards. Jabi created two water clones and had them transform into tiny versions of himself and insert themselves inside the two grass genin before healing them and closing the open wound. Jabi smiled and hoped the two made it in the later rounds of the exam. He soon jumped away and searched for a team with an Earth scroll. His luck so far wasn't very good. He hoped that would change soon. With Broly is currently watching Sasuke battle a far superior opponent who was disguised as a member of the grass genin. He was terrified of the female nin and was about to surrender his scroll to her before Naruto came and grabbed the scroll from him. He berated Sasuke for being so cowardly and charged towards the enemy. The female grass nin suddenly summoned a large purple snake that batted away Naruto and knocked him. The snake followed up to try and swallow the falling Naruto, but Naruto with his eyes red and turned into slits punched a snake that was 20x his size and knocked it away. The female ninja on top of the snake blew some wind that launched Naruto away once again. After that she and her colossal snake charged towards Sasuke. Sasuke froze up before the enemy and just watched as they came rushing towards him. But suddenly when it looked like all hope was lost for Sasuke, Naruto appeared once again in a heroic fashion. He appeared in front of the rushing massive snake and held it back from reaching Sasuke. Broly looked on in interest and increasing battle spirit at the female ninja who seemed very strong. He is currently waiting till she is done with Naruto and his team before getting her all to himself. Meanwhile elsewhere two Chunin were reporting to Anko about the mysterious ways these three grass nin died. Anko went over to check for herself before slightly panicking once she saw the bodies. Send some Anbu captains to the Forest of Death after reporting this to the Hokage. I'm going after the infiltrator. Anko shouted before dashing off into the forest. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. The next part will be out soon.